I'm working with Jones Lang LaSalle, and I've been for most of my career working on the occupier side, so I'm maybe the wrong or the right guy for this presentation if it's about investments, and all the colleagues on the panels are from the investor side. So I was initially asking myself the question, am I the right guy to speak to that crowd? But I thought about it, and well, actually, if there is no occupier, why would you build an office building? How will you have a successful investment? So maybe it's not too bad to understand a little bit what drives occupiers at the moment, and that's what I'm here to give you some trends of the occupiers, and then we'll have a splendid discussion about that. There are many trends that impact our global economy. Obviously, globalization, digitalization. So there are these mega trends. All of them impact how we work and how we will work in the future, and therefore also impact on the office space. Thank you. But there are a couple of ones that I've picked for this session, which we believe are extremely relevant for the office investment, for the office occupiers now. Some of them are very hot topics at the moment, and many of them we expect to carry on in the future. So maybe that's a little bit the outlook into the next 10 years, what's going to happen. So what are these 4 trends that we've picked? Number 1 is flex space, known as co-working, driven by the likes of WeWork. We had a panel yesterday morning, 130 people joining, crowded room. So it seems to be a hot topic. And I'll show you in a minute why this is so hot. Human experience in office space. The last 10 years were a lot of driven by optimization, so getting more efficient workspaces. But this has sort of come to an end, and companies realize that the human, so their staff, is important, and that they need to take care of them, so that the whole experience somebody has in his office is more important than just numbers, flexibility, or cheap environment. So that's important. Then yes, digitalization is important, and this has an impact on buildings, obviously. Smart building technology, there's lots of stuff out there. It's going to be interesting to see what will be the ones that are really proving to be meaningful, that will establish, and what's sort of just technically possible but will never come to use. And finally, it's about locations. Which it's always been the last couple of 100 years, location. But it's also about talent. So where do I find the talents, and how do corporate occupiers make their decisions on new locations? So to start off with flex space, where is that coming from, all that hype? The one of the key drivers behind the flex hype is that the way we work, the way companies are organized is dramatically changing. The idea of doing your apprenticeship, then working 40 years in the same company and retiring there is mostly over. And it's not just that you're changing companies, it's even you're changing on a project-by-project basis. I mean, some researchers already believe that around 20 to 30% of people are working in a sort of freelance environment. So the workforce for a occupier is not just your own staff, it's consultants, it's specialists, it's people coming on projects and coming in and out, which means your headcount, your occupation needs is changing not slowly, it's changing on a month-by-month basis. And that really puts occupiers and their real estate managers in front of big challenges, trying to manage that growth and shrinking, and that doesn't work with 5 or 10-year leases. So that's where sort of the flex space comes in, and which is a sort of a handy tool for corporate real estate managers to work with. And if we're looking at the numbers, the growth has been significant, and we're expecting another 20 to 30% growth over the next year in the flex space market. Human experience, it sounds initially maybe a little bit blurry. What's this about? Soft factors, why would you worry about these things? It's a key driver. If you talk to HR experts and how they look at productivity and how successful companies are, employee engagement is one of the key KPIs. So how engaged are you with your company? Are you convinced that you're in the right company? Do you understand the values? Do you understand the goals? And if you are, you're more productive, you're more creative, you're having higher outputs. People who have sort of already resigned internally, just coming to work, doing their 9 to 5, will never have the same outputs. So it's not just a nice and fancy and colorful HR thing. It's about money. Sort of, if your employees are productive, if they are delivering value, they are creative, you will be a more successful company. And that's where workplaces can support this on the sort of for the individual. So I can select, I can work from home, I can work in the office, I can work in a lounge, I can work at a classical desk, or I can go into shared services, in co-working type of environments, and also beyond my building. So I think in future it's going to be much more important, not just my building, but the question is what's the environment around? What are the next buildings? Is there a bigger community, especially if you're looking at office developments or pure office developments? There needs to be more than just my building. It's a campus, it's an area that's going to be more important. Technology. As I said, there is lots of stuff out there already. The question is going to be what's going to be relevant. I've just briefly looked up how many apps there are in App Store. It's more than 2 million. How many apps are you using? I don't think you're using 2 million. And I think it will be the same when it comes to smart buildings. So we need to find out what is the right technology, which is really helpful. Is it wayfinding, finding a colleague within the building? Is it adjusting the temperature? Is it paying for your coffee over lunch break? Is it the weather report? Whatever. These things will work out over time, and we'll see what really works. What's going to be interesting is there's already so much smart technology in many of those buildings, but getting them connected. At the moment, they're totally unconnected, and that's going to have a big impact when we get those things together. And finally, it's going to be interesting to see where the interface between landlords and occupiers come in. So what technology has the base building and what technology is coming from the occupier as they are fit out. And finally, on locations, company traditionally obviously had their home country, or they maybe had their clients where they wanted to be close to, but the sort of the matrix they're looking at today when they're taking location decisions is much wider. So there's a whole series of aspects they're looking at. And they're looking not only at Germany, they're looking across Europe, they're looking globally. So every major location decision is driven by looking at those factors and where do I need to locate. And it's not just one type of location per one company. We say, if we look at the German automotive industry, a company like Volkswagen in Wolfsburg, they're moving people to Berlin because they can't hire the young, hip, creative designers they want to have to Wolfsburg. So it's not just the traditional patterns, it's new patterns driving new demands and new locations. And what we see is that cities are reacting to that and offering potentials, and it's going to be important to find out which are the cities and sort of what's the product for the cities. So it's not always the same office, the same type of location. It's different building qualities because there are different demands, different users that will go to those cities, to those places to find work there. So this is really important to understand that real estate, which sort of is our profession, is unfortunately just one little bucket in that decision making. And we also need to look left and right. And again, city is on top of the list. So we're part of the built environment. We are building the city. So we need to make sure that the cities fulfill those criteria of the future.